Hello there, welcome to Think the Maker, a podcast about heroes, princesses, scoundrels, hokey religions, ancient weapons, and all things Star Wars. I'm Adam Russell.
Hey guys, I'm Ryan Key.
Hey, it's Mike Forrester. Happy Thanksgiving Eve to you all, and to all a good night. Thank you very much for coming. See you later, everyone. Adam, you look so much more rested than when I saw you on Sunday.
It's true. Blessed be the fruit.
Yes.
May the Lord open.
I have been resting. It's been amazing. I've also been taking antibiotics and any other medicine that's necessary to heal my stupid, old, crumbling body. Also, I haven't been screaming for the past 36, 48 something hours, which is great.
That does help. Yeah, that does.
Oh, and your voice already sounds like that because if I screamed one time the way you do, I would not be able to speak for 6 months.
Here's the thing, dude. It takes a long time to figure out how to scream. It took me years, and then I didn't tour for 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. Completely forgot how, completely wrecked myself. Now that I've relearned, I guess it'll be cool once my bronchitis is gone.
For sure. But see, here's the thing for me is I still have struggled to learn, there's this, what's the skill I'm looking for? Oh yeah, how to talk without losing my voice, much less scream. Right. If I go on tour and someone's like, hey, do you want to go grab a glass of wine at this cool tapas wine bar? Yeah, that sounds great. Except if I go, then I'll talk to you there and we'll have to cancel 7 shows. So no, I can't go.
Right.
That's my life on the road.
Yeah.
Hey, as much as I appreciated more days off on tour with Yellow Card compared to what we usually do, which includes 6 in a row on the reg, which we had on ours.
Never.
It was almost like an overcorrection. It was great for you, but for us, 3 shows in, we're like, dude, it's been a month. What day is it? With 2 on, 1 off, 2 on, 2 off.
Six in a row, your tour canceled.
Yeah.
Not possible.
Dan, luckily, is just absolutely impervious to all sickness.
Yeah, and he can just pound Jameson before he plays every night for 6 shows in a row, and
he sleeps
sound
12
amazing.
Hours.
And I don't get.
He's got the hardcore neck, dude. His neck's as wide as his whole head.
I don't
because he's got all that power in there from screaming hardcore shit for 20 years.
You say he sleeps for 12 hours?
Yeah, he sleeps. That boy can
It's
sleep.
like the scene in Saving Private Ryan where they're like, how does he fall asleep when his head hits the pack? And it's like, I don't know. Just he must have a completely clean conscience. He lays down and nothing troubles his weary mind at night. He just he doesn't have it. He just is like, okay, my day is done.
That's it.
Well, story of the year.
Off to the next.
Certainly sounded fantastic. I would encourage everyone to please go on the second leg of the tour, which I had fun. I think I want to go to Detroit. I think the second leg kicks off in Detroit.
Do it.
And at the Majestic, which is a great venue downtown Detroit. I would like to come. I think I would like to come again.
I can probably get you a ticket.
I'm going to come.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And besides that, show was great. Please go check it out. And wow, Star Wars stuff happened. It was I was waiting for the strike to end. And then I was waiting for more news, and it was like, "Yo, Dave Filoni gets promoted. Daisy Ridley's seen the script. She's stoked on the next
Of course she is.
Let's go.
We've already talked about this.
We're back.
Can I just say before we dive into this, my child is due any moment, and I'm still downloading apps and putting devices onto the Wi-Fi today. So. That said, I wanted to get in and read all about Dave Filoni's promotion today to be a proper podcast host. Didn't happen. I can't wait for you guys to tell me all about it.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
You really just need to get the thing that watches the baby, and then you need the white noise machine, and that's
got them both. They were ready to go.
That's all you need, dude.
I am very excited for you to share this information about Daisy Ridley in the script because I have not seen that yet, and you guys know how pumped I am on Stephen Knight writing this film, and how I have a theory that it's going to be the greatest thing since
before.
Yeah, since the other thing.
Yes, absolutely.
But I'm very excited. So yeah, tell me all about it. Let's go.
Well, before we do that, let's keep the people in suspense because we have some poll results to reveal.
Oh yes,
because we did an episode what seems like a year ago now. With the tour time traveling problem. It was it 195, our last one, official one? We skipped a week and then we did a rebroadcast. Here we are.
Yeah.
195. So we did an episode where we pitched our own Star Wars stories, whether it was a series or a feature film or a trilogy, whatever. And the results are a little surprising.
Really?
To me. I don't know. They may be surprising to others. They may be absolutely not at all a surprise.
Okay.
But I don't know. Results may vary. A little recap on what we pitched. I won't get into any details at all, but Ryan pitched something called Star Wars Scavengers, which kind of brings to screen a story told in novel form about Rey's parents. Nick pitched something called Hounds of Hati. Sorry, Ryan's was a feature film. Nick pitched something called Hounds of Hati.
No, mine was a series.
Okay, got it.
When we were first talking about it, it was sort of like film only, and I was like,
got it.
Mine's gonna be better as a series. We bent the rules.
Bended those rules.
Bended the.
Nick had a feature film idea called Hounds of Hati, which followed Shin Hati from Ahsoka in a something in the same general time period, but several years later. We're talking like 10, 20, 30, something like that, maybe? Or was it after Rey's thing, maybe? Point being, it centers around some new Mandalorian clans, right? And some dark side stuff. That's pretty cool. Mike pitched something called Zeta Squadron, which would be a film centering around Carson Teva and other X-Wing pilots. I don't know, what to me felt like something that will fill the void in our hearts left by the potential cancellation of Rogue Squadron. The, what's her name film?
Patty Jenkins
film. And then I pitched in the vaguest of terms, but way over my time limit, an untitled Jedi origin story. Which I was very curious. It had me tickled. It had you making that face. I left a lot of details out because there's still this ridiculous, stupid pipe dream way in the back of my head that doesn't want to let the details out, just in case.
Crazier things have happened. Things have happened. So I can respect that. I really can.
So I put some Patreon comments here in the note. There's a note, by the way, guys. It's in the usual folder.
Ah, nice.
If you guys want to jump in, I'll
Sick. Can't wait for you to tell me about it.
I'll read a couple, and Mike, if you can keep up, or if you can catch up, and then read a couple more once you get the document, that'd be sick.
I could do that.
Physics buddy Joe, who I met on tour, he came to a show, did the VIP thing prior to the show. Thanks. Good to see you, bud. He said, I would watch all 4 of these, all caps, all 4 of these movies/shows. Ryan's would be somewhat of an adaptation expansion of Shadows of the Sith, which would be rad, all caps. Nick's, I hope, will be explored in Ahsoka Season 2 and 3 and 4, maybe, he's hoping, and the Filoni movie. Mike's would be a rootin' tootin' fun time. But Adams is my winner, though, because of the lore and the history. I think it could happen alongside the upcoming Mangold Dawn of the Jedi movie. The Force doesn't have to originate from a single source. Plus, we know there are multiple galaxies now. Thanks, physics buddy Joe. Logan Foy said...
Look at him gloating already, Mike.
Yeah, right? I know. I'm like, come on, man.
See it on him?
Wait till you see the results, man. Wait till you see the results.
Here we go.
Logan Foy said, let's be honest. I think we all want each of these to be made. Hey.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
We appreciate all the comments. Everyone was like, do them all, do them all.
Agreed.
It's incredibly Swiss of him to say that.
He said, I think they were all well done, but if I had to vote, I'm going for Ryan's Scavengers. Just as Clone Wars did for the prequels era, this is the sequel content we need.
That's what I'm thinking. That was my motivation. I want to bring the family together around the sequel table to agree that it's amazing. It's amazing stuff.
Agreed.
Just take your hands off your phone or your keyboard for a minute and respect the work everyone put in on those films.
Just take computers out of your ears.
That's right.
The Geeky Beast said, Nick's is definitely my favorite because it has everything I love about the new Star Wars. My only critique is the name. Giving away that the Hounds are following Shin from the title would take away from an oh wow moment when it's revealed that she's pulling the strings. I would for that part to at least be a surprise. Yeah.
We got to workshop.
Just workshop the title. Just workshop the title.
Let's try it out.
Yeah, it's a working title.
Yeah, I like it.
Blue Harvest. Green Trooper 501 said, F yeah, so I don't have to edit. Carson Teva, ! The bloke's a certified G. So I'm fully on Mike's side with this one, and just the thought of seeing a TIE Defender tearing it up with a Fang Fighter gives me goosebumps. Just give us
and
that
the Poe reveal at the end. That was my favorite part.
Yeah,
that was crispy.
Super dope.
So, okay, so
all right, results.
Get those numbers.
It's interesting. Okay. Last place, 16% of the vote. That would be my Untitled Jedi origin story.
What?
Okay, listen. I think it's not because it's the weakest one. It's because you are like not willing, understandably so, to reveal like the real thing.
Yeah.
Like when you pitched it to me in a hotel room post whatever that was, celebration or wherever we were. Granted, we had a few death sticks before that conversation, but it was like my mind was blown when you really told me the whole thing with like names and origins and family tie. The whole it was intense, but no way you fit that into. What was our time limit? 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
And I think I did.
And you already went to like 18 or something,
right?
And still didn't give anything away. So
I'd actually left the pod by the time you finished. I
get it. I get why you're not revealing it all, but I will say that you might have gotten a different result if you had like given the same pitch that you gave me, because it was like, whoa, dude.
Right. Hey, I don't want to be too on my own nuts, but I agree. I left out a lot, and I put in a lot of filler, and I'm gonna keep it that way because I'm now
never too late.
I'm now aware of some more connections that make this less of a pipe dream than it was a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
oh boy,
keep the dream alive.
You are definitely on your own Maloo runs. That's for sure. Okay, so that was number 4. Number 3,
third place, 20% of the vote. Ryan's Star Wars Scavengers.
Okay,
dude, I'm never gonna win anything on this freaking show.
Hey, here's the thing though. At 27%, not too huge of a margin. Second place runner-up, Nick's Hounds of Hati.
Coming in first
with 36% of the vote.
Wow,
Mike Forrester's
dude,
Zeta Squadron.
That is 36. That's high.
Yeah,
that is high. And I'm telling you, it was the extra thought you put into it to go at the very end, a young pilot, and it was Poe. So you pulled off the sequel thing that I was trying to pull off, and you just did it better.
You know, as our resident creator here, I'll probably just make myself my own trophy, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But no, I think like the overwhelming comments as I'm here in our Discord from our Patreon, like everyone's like, so I picked this one, but I really want all 4 to be made, which makes me feel really good about the fact that maybe on Thank the Maker we have good ideas, and I really like that. We have so many good ideas that we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which has nothing to do with Ryan sending a bunch of people, Yellow Card fans, over, and definitely all about how good our ideas are for a future Star Wars pitch. So when the man we're talking about next, Dave Filoni, watches, he's going to be like, see, I knew I could rely.
And we became best friends in the airport lounge in this earlier this year. So
we have never heard this story. Yes.
So I'll send them all these ideas and we're good.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. We'll be there for the premiere, I hope.
Dave got a promotion. There's no reason we can't get a few promotions over here as well.
I completely agree.
So let's talk about it. Dave Filoni, the beloved Dave Filoni, in our eyes for years, heir apparent to George Lucas,
right,
has actually been, according to an interview yesterday at the time of this recording, promoted to Chief Creative Officer at Lucasfilm. Same job title as Kevin Feige at Marvel. So what we've all been talking about for the past 11 years now, almost.
This is big.
Yeah, this is big stuff. So one of the first questions that popped to mind with me was, what is the hierarchy? From the top at Lucasfilm. Kathleen Kennedy is, of course, the president. She's been president since 2012 when the Disney acquisition went down.
Right.
Luann Brennan, is that how you pronounce her name? She's executive vice president and general manager. I don't know what her day-to-day is like. She does have R2 in the back of her headshot. Obviously,
this is probably on LinkedIn. This is on LinkedIn.
No, this is on the official Lucasfilm site.
I'm going to add her on LinkedIn. I'm going to see what happens.
I know this name. She's been in a million things we've all read. I don't know what her day-to-day is. So who knows where she sits in the creative hierarchy, what her voice is like in those conversations. But the executive vice president and live action development and production head is Carrie Beck, whose name we know from lots of stuff. She's been executive producer on a lot of stuff that has kind of shaped Star Wars in the past several years. I don't think anything about her title has changed since this went down, right?
That seemed to be the same. I think that was a constant. Like
right.
they had mentioned, like Carrie Beck would still serve in that
right.
role too. Yeah.
And then Dave Filoni is executive vice president / chief creative officer. The way this is laid out, it looks like he's fourth in line in terms of like the corporate hierarchy.
Right.
But the way he's describing his new day-to-day, it seems a lot more like the role that George used to play, because Lucasfilm has been a company for, since 1978 or whatever. And of course, right. George founded it. He owned it, but he wasn't a corporate head any more than he needed to be. It was kind of like the understanding we all have. He was kind of torn between the two things. He was trying to run a studio. It's part of the reason he didn't direct the two original Star Wars sequels, because he was shouldering a bunch of that, and he was was producing other things, and he was just trying to was building teams, doing all this kind of shit. But he tried to stay as much in story as he could,
right?
So it doesn't seem like Dave's role is too far from that. Mm-hmm. Mike, is that your read as well?
I think like when you look at the hierarchy, and I know some people either work for, at this point, some people can work for themselves, or they work there. After COVID, I think really like the expansion of people working in all these different structures has really expanded. But for someone like Dave, and we have been a podcast that has long gone to bat for not putting someone like Dave Filoni as per the usual idiot's internet recommendation of making him the president, which of course everyone wants to sit through financial meetings if you're a very creative person like Dave Filoni and sit there, yeah, Q1 we're projecting our animated film that has nothing to do with Star Wars is tracking really well in China. So there's a lot of things that I think are really important about this, and mainly Filoni's interview with, I think it was Vanity Fair, really said his big thing was that I'm not really telling anyone I'm not directing anyone. I'm not telling people what to do, which of course is a big relief for a lot of people who are either fans of Star Wars, of Andor, that like the more mature storytelling, or maybe they didn't necessarily love Ahsoka or whatever it was. That Star Wars is still very much in the vein of like, we're going to make Star Wars for a lot of different people. But what he did say was, what I wanted to do is see if I could give people information to make their story fit into the universe, right? And I think we could really see that in the tone of it would be hard for me to picture a Gungan in Andor. It would be hard for me to picture a Rancor in Andor,
right?
And simultaneously simultaneously having dialogue as heavy as Andor fitting in Book of Boba Fett would also be kind of odd for people who were expecting ship go fast and blow stuff up. So I think in some ways this is exactly where Dave needs to be. I actually assumed that he was already in this role, but I think to get this official promotion and have him then now serve as actually the executive looking over all of these productions, which Acolyte will be very interesting to see what comes of that. And then also just being able to bring more High Republic into the fold, which I think is where we're going to go. And then obviously overseeing the next 4 movies we have, right? Because I'm sure part of it tonally, Acolyte is going to feel way different than Skeleton Crew. Andor season 2 is going to feel way different. So I think at some point they probably were like, let's not make 7 different tracks for Star Wars fans. Let's see if we can smooth it all into the same pipeline, which honestly I think they needed, and that this is incredibly encouraging.
You think he's just going to the 3 people above him to ask for money? Like he's the one that now says these are the projects we need to make. They will still get to say, yeah, but we're not going to pay for that. Right?
I mean, you would guess he's going to bat for the stories, yeah.
Right.
But
as
also,
opposed to, I don't know who was going to bat for all the stories before, but whether, I mean, I think aren't we aware that like there was sort of a conscious choice to keep him not in, or to have him not be involved in live action, which led to, the sequels going the way they went and having him not be involved in them. Whereas like in hindsight, I think we all, whether you love or hate the sequels, that's your opinion and you're entitled to it. But I think we could collectively agree it would have been interesting to see what Dave Filoni, as executive creative director of the whole entire franchise, would have done in the role of, or in that role at the time of the sequels writing and production, right? So like, is he now the person that was deciding to keep him out of live action? Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Yeah.
Like what buck stops with him, and then I think above him, I think every buck stops with him now, except for the actual the buck that is like the dollar, because he has to go get that money approved.
Well, well, let me read a couple quotes here from him. One, I'll say that I would assume the sequels would have been different, because it's one thing to have like a committee, have a board, have a whole bunch of cooks in the kitchen telling somebody like J.J. Abrams, yes, we can do this, no, we can't. It's another thing to have a dude like Dave Filoni who started
standing there
as a fan.
going, I am not a committee.
And, someone who's a fan who studied directly under George Lucas to like level with him in the way that he probably levels with Jon Favreau, and they go back and forth and they have these debates and they both talk about it all the time. I could see that having gone differently, and maybe solutions to certain things that I read about that aren't worth talking about here would have maybe had more creatively satisfying decisions made, like more creatively fulfilling routes taken to avoid blowing something up story-wise. I don't know. That's all I'll say about that. But back to these quotes from Dave. He said, in the past, a lot of projects I would be brought into, I would see it after it had already developed a good ways. In this new role, it's opened up to basically everything that's going on. When we're planning the future of what we're doing now, I'm involved at the inception phase.
I love that.
So a lot like Feige.
Right.
He also said, I'm not telling people what to do, but I do feel I'm trying to help them tell the best story they want to tell. I need to be a help across the galaxy here, like part of a Jedi Council almost. Love you too, Dave.
Smart.
That shit just makes me smile. Anyone who's watching is seeing a smile right now. Because he's not using corporate speak. He's talking the way he talks. He loves Star Wars. And it's just like he's the guy. He's the guy.
Yeah.
He said, to truly help filmmakers, it was really important for me to experience it firsthand. I can also lend to a perspective on the challenges that telling these stories will present. I feel more capable of actually being helpful outside of just saying, well, Jedi are like this, Sith are like this, and so on. So it seems like he was always available-ish from reading this. If somebody wanted to clarify something, he's that person. But he wasn't in a position to really steer the ship, even if it wasn't a giving orders thing.
Or step in to say, have you considered this?
Right.
Or consider this, right?
Right.
So,
do you think that there's like a main line now back to Lucas as well? Meaning like he always could sit down and consult with George. They have a relationship, I would think, unlike any other pair in this hierarchy, as you put it, right? Like I don't think Kathleen and George are sitting down to debate the inner workings of the world between worlds and how it relates to,
George, I've got to go to this meeting, man. I can't answer
so
I can't answer your call right now.
Absolutely. So now you have him in this role where he is the overlord from the inception of every single story. Like, George isn't just like on a beach with his feet up now. He's still, you know what I mean? Like, he's been around and he's been on set. He was there throughout the entire process of making Ahsoka and all the other things. Mandalorian, we've seen him on set. Like, now you've got Filoni, his protege, if that's the right word, his Padawan, who is now been granted the rank of master on the council, that can go to him and be like, hey, we have this story. I'm really excited about it. How does this fit into and you get to tap into the maker in a way that post maker selling, the moisture farm, we haven't had a way for him to really, you know what I mean? Like, put his hand on things in such a direct way, an impactful way, maybe is the way. Like, he's had influence on Dave, who has taken that influence and done the best he could with it in his role. But if he's really the overlord now of all creative decisions, I would think you're getting a direct influence and, direct advice and direction from the man himself, because they're buds.
I would say that whatever influence, whatever mentorship George has imparted into Dave's projects now just extends to everything. Like, that's the simplest way to say it. Like, I don't think that Dave sits around and wonders constantly what would George do. I'm sure he wonders.
I don't either.
I'm sure
he
wonders,
wants it to be his own thing,
right?
For sure.
Yeah. I'm sure he wonders what stays within the confines of the mythology that George built.
I guess, like I'm saying before, up until now, it's been, hey, if he's having a conversation with Lucas, it's been like, hey, here's the projects I've been given that have been greenlit, and I'm now, as you said, now I'm involved. They're already, scripts are in development. It's all happening. Now it's like, hey, George, this is just starting, and I just want to bounce this idea off of you. And you might get this little kernel of an idea from him at the inception of a project now that really gives you that original Star Wars mythology, as you put it, that the themes that inspired him to create this in the first place 40 years ago. You might get a little thing, a little nugget that he's like, what before you get down that path too far, what if you think about this? And in some of these other projects, it seems like they were already so far down the road. You know what I mean? That George was sort of coming in as an observer, almost like he would stop by the set and they'd be like, don't you think this is cool? You know what I mean? Whereas now you might get some more opportunity for him to be like, if needed, to be like, well, you just consider this.
Yeah.
Or I have this in a notebook.
Yeah.
What do you this character I never used.
Well, he did jump in. He did jump in, or come to J.J. Abrams' aid at the end of the trilogy with the ending, because J.J. was struggling and he reached out to George and got a little help on the ending. But like you're saying, it's at the end, not at the beginning. So.
Yes, and I'm sure George would have been like, "Why didn't you call me 2 years ago?
Yeah,
I would have told you how to do this whole thing." So I think it's exciting. It's the long-winded, the short-winded version of everything I just said. It's exciting that he might be able to offer some thoughts and ideas that could be buried in a notebook somewhere for some projects we don't even know, that or don't exist yet.
Well, the thing that hasn't been talked about publicly, because again, this is day-old news for us right now, is where the Lucasfilm Story Group fits in, or Story Team as they're credited on screen, known internally as Story Group. That still exists, as far as I can tell. I did a bunch of research. Pablo Hidalgo seems to still be involved in it, despite some rumblings a couple years ago about some, stuff that went down. And a bunch of veterans in there, a bunch of names that we all know. we could ask someone directly. I would rather not say that out loud or discuss that here, but
you want to call him right now?
But it's going to be interesting
speaker.
to see, like, because the story group has been, the filter for a lot of things, or like the home base for all of the different types of Star Wars stories, whether it's like novels, comics, parks, on-screen stuff, whatever.
Right.
But now with Dave at the head, is that team supporting him, or is he using that team as a resource? Is the team using him as more of a resource? Like what's the flow of information, and like where does the buck stop?
You offered a quote a few moments ago about, I'm not telling anyone how to do their job. I'm just helping them tell the best stories they can. And so I think just based on that, I would interpret that as things are staying in place the way they are. Like we have this great team of people that now I can have more influence on, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I can make decisions that maybe Kathleen Kennedy was or whoever else was making before, to say, no, we're not going to do that, or yes, we're going to do that. Now Dave can say that directly to story group. And I think that's probably a good thing, because I would think that story group type people look at a Dave Filoni in a very different way than they do at a film studio executive,
Yeah.
And that relationship will be more of a two-way street,
Yeah.
Right.
We're doing a lot of speculating. Like we know some things from research and having insight into certain things, but we don't ultimately know shit. So we're doing a lot of speculating here, but we're trying to make sense of this like everybody else, and trying to impart as much research knowledge into it as possible.
Well, for people too, again, it's like the amount of people, of course, it immediately goes to this like weird misunderstanding of how our corporate structure works. Of people are like, yes, finally they listen to the fans, as if like, but I'm just like reading
like as if he's cutting the checks.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, like how dumb do you have to be? And then to publicly say it too, I'm like, God, like I would hate to out myself as an idiot. Like tons of my friends already know I'm an idiot, but like to publicly out myself like that, like please. The really the process of really appreciating who Dave is in a as a thinker, and he's no slouch either in regards to, he's written probably some of the strongest Clone Wars episodes we've seen, and I think his episodes, I know that of course from some of my friends who are outside of the hardcore Star Wars fan base, they definitely have felt like they're like, I know there was supposed to be something more important here, but I didn't consume all Star Wars media, so I felt like I don't see where the Filoni, like why Filoni stuff feels so much more weighted than non-Filoni stuff. And I can understand that, because Dave likes to lean on familiar beats that are for us absolute treats to be able to interact with and appreciate. But I can certainly see at some point that people who would be looking at, for my friends who aren't, again, totally backed up with, I've read all the books, I've read the tie-ins, blah blah blah, and they just watched Andor that Filoni had nothing to do with, and they said, well, as an adult, I loved Andor because it was an adult story. So the idea of making something more Filoni, which if you didn't love Ahsoka, or were confused by Ahsoka, and you've only seen his executive producer title on The Mandalorian, which then is also tied with Jon Favreau, I can understand why people are going, is this more of a big deal than it needs to be? Or why is everyone so excited about this, when some of the, Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie, and Andor is my favorite, because we're adults, right? But for me, I look at it and I go, Filoni still understands that the next generation of fans is younger, not older, right? And we always have to remind ourselves that here we are, a bunch of late 30s, 40-ish-year-old men talking about Star Wars, which is something that we fell in love with when we were kids, and that we have to remember that the reason that this this franchise has gone on for 50 years with an incredible fan base that remains dedicated, that no other franchise has done in this long of a span, with this intensity, to get this much more content, is looking after and stewarding for the next generation. And I think Dave is that person to remind ourselves of that. Ryan, you're about to have a kid. I have a kid. Dave understands that joy that it needs to bring, not just this like everything is revenge, we must kill everyone.
Yeah, Dave Filoni is going to do a better job at providing Star Wars content for my son than Tony Gilroy is. It's just a fact. Like, I mean,
we said it here, guys.
And I think it's awesome because I think you got to trust. Who knows? I don't know if he's come out in an interview and said it anywhere, but I hope that Dave Filoni freaking loved Andor because he's our age. And he was like, yes, this is like badass original. And even cooler that he wasn't involved in it because he got to watch it just and be like, oh, cool. There's some Star Wars content that I was not in the room. I was not on the set. I can just watch this and just enjoy it. I hope that was his experience, you know? But if those projects come across his desk, I mean, look at the Stephen Knight, Daisy Ridley thing, which I hope Mike get when we can. Tell me about this, whatever you read about Daisy Ridley. But he's got to be pumped on that because that's going to be grown up Star Wars. But to your point, he sees the vision, and everyone needs to be okay with having someone like him watching out for kids, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like kids are what keep this thing alive, and will keep it alive for another half a century. And you can't. Tony Gilroy and the Andor team and the Rogue One team are not the guys that you want at the helm to keep Star Wars alive for another 50 years. Like that's not. That nostalgia is going to run its course. It's at some point, you know, and what will be left behind it is, I think, in better hands with someone like Dave Filoni.
Yeah, right. And he's also not afraid to get wild with stuff. You know, another fear, you know, that I've heard kind of floating around is Dave being the kind of dude that really likes to go back to the well and likes to play with the Skywalker saga stuff and just, you know, kind of like
play
shuffle
with our
those
toys kind of a thing.
Exactly, shuffle those action figures around. But he's also a dude who's been directly involved in some of the most radically different types of Star Wars stories, you know, for 15 years now, right? Mortis Gods, Night Sisters, the Bendu, wild shit, you know. So he apparently wants to open up and expand this universe as much as any of us do. So that sheer fact, combined with the quote about not telling people what to do and not, you know, just wanting to help people tell their stories, I think we're in great hands. I think that this is nothing but positive news. I think we should all be stoked. Last thing I'll say is that anyone who is like maybe overexcited, like we've mentioned, you know that it's now completely back in the hands of the fans and whatever, and they think that, you know, before it was just all corporate shit and you know, whatever.
Doc Brown just found us the flux capacitor, and it's 1977.
No, man, it's
starting
just
over.
Like there's always been a corporate balance, you know, the balance of running a business and creative people trying to be creative.
Right.
Just a little FYI, again, since the beginning, since back in 77, 78 when George built this thing, there've been 5 presidents. Okay, there's been like a president all along. There've been some short interims where someone was acting COO or something, but there's always been a corporate structure. It was much smaller back in the day. And even 10 years ago when Disney acquired Lucasfilm, there was only about half as many people in the executive team as there are now. But it's always been a company that's always needed to make decisions, make intelligent decisions that had financial implications, which could then maybe have story implications or creative implications, rather. So it's always been there. I don't know what else to say. I like none of us know exactly how it goes on the inside, but we do know that it's not like there was one dude making literally whatever he wanted, then Disney bought it, shit on your whole childhood, and now we're back to one dude who's going to make literally whatever he wants. It's always been a balance. I just think the balance is a little bit more evenly weighed maybe now than it was a few years ago when they were trying to, like, not only trying to, like, figure out what to do post George, but what to do with a company that's putting out as much content as they had in the prior 20 years, like within essentially a snap in the history of this company.
Humanity is not known for its patience
Yeah.
right now. So, like, to expect us to have the patience for them to figure out to keep the company running at the level that a multi-billion-dollar franchise like Star Wars has to continue to run at all times. There's no downtime. You don't go, okay, George Lucas just sold us this for $4.5 billion. Let's take 10 years off and figure out how to restructure management so we can make the right content. You have to keep going nonstop, pedal to the floor. And we can't even give them, we, humanity, people, fans, whatever, we can't give them 1 decade to figure out how to get it going in the right direction after 3+ decades of the way it existed before the acquisition. Like, it's absurd. It's absurd for people to not have the patience and understanding that you can't take a $4 billion company, change hands, and have it all just work the way you want it to work. Like,
and please, literally time. Everyone, it's impossible.
Yes, it takes time. And at that time, Dave Filoni, who was a Padawan learner underneath George Lucas directly, that's incredible. But at the time, he was the animated series guy who, you could come to and hit up for any deep backstory, legends, canon, otherwise, whatever. But that was all fluid and moving. It wasn't like they sold the whole thing and they were like, there's Dave Filoni, he's the future president of the company. Like, it's taken this amount of time for him to prove himself and show himself as the right person for the job and say, I'm worthy of this job. And then the love him or hate him corporate suits that make $4.5 billion decisions to say, you are the guy. You've done it. You've proven it. You are going to keep this company profitable. They don't care about you and your keyboard, bro. They want to make money. And sorry to let you down, but for all of your keyboard warrioring over the sequels and everything else that you hate, all they've done is continue to make money. So they're not bothered. They're not good. They're not worried about what you have to say. And so they're making very important decisions. And I just think it's amazing that if you really put it in perspective, it's taken, around a quarter of the time that the company has existed. There's 3/4 more before the acquisition. And, like, we just don't even, we haven't had the patience to let things sort of evolve and sort themselves out with a major
some of us have
paradigm shift like that, a major shift in, like, the landscape of the company. It's a massive company. This isn't like,
I think,
an independent record label that got a new president. This is
not a
big
food truck.
Deal. Yes.
I think you guys are giving them too much credit. I've been asking for a Dexter Jetster Black Series for at least eight years. Okay. And that's all I'm asking for. And if we're too busy giving out these billion-dollar movies to people, okay, I'm just asking for the one damn figure, okay?
You know why you can't get it? Corporate greed.
Right, that's right. And you can't get it there. And I'm going to come to YouTube and I'm going to yell about it. So if you want a Dexter Jetster Black Series like I do, please go ahead and smash that subscribe button. It'll help in zero way getting this thing fulfilled.
Link to the petition in bio.
All right, that's just what I'm saying. Anyways, so let's talk about this next thing because it is kind of exciting. Daisy Ridley on board.
Yeah.
Very excited about this.
Yep. Let's go.
We have a very quick little, of course, which everyone is going to lose their mind over and say, either if you like Daisy Ridley, you loved it. If you didn't like Daisy Ridley, because whatever reason you've come up with that makes you feel better about yourself, you're going to come up with a reason to think that it's negative.
This is from an article on Collider.
See video from the last night on the Starcruiser to see how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah. Well, we said a lot of things about Daisy Ridley for sure, which is all good. So she had she met up with someone in Collider. She's promoting her new movie, which is called The Marsh King's Daughter, much different from Star Wars. But she was talking to one of the reporters and said at the time that she was at the last Sundance Film Festival, which Sundance, Ryan, is in February. Yes.
I wish I knew the answer to that.
Okay, I think it is. But anyways, so this is before Celebration in London, when she was brought back out. And so there was the rumors, like she posted online, remember that? And she was like, she posted and said, "Oh, I'm here and I'm having lunch." And it was at the
Yeah.
Lucasfilm office. And of course,
Mhm.
everyone's like, "Let's go." Actually, people we want to hang out with were like, "Let's go." Other people, we left them. But what she had said was this quote, Steve, the reporter, she said, "I'll tell you, Steve, when I saw you in Park City, I had not been approached." Okay, so now we established a timeline. "I was asked by some, not by you, but I was asked something when I was there, and strangely, people were asking me stuff. And I was like, no, I'm not doing another one. Then it all happened after I came back. It was such a nice reception. I was shitting myself before I went on stage." This sounds like something Daisy Ridley would say. She's fantastic.
With like a
But
nice pronunciation on the T's.
right, yeah, for
Shitting
sure.
myself.
Yeah, shitting
Shite.
myself. Because no one knew I was going to that, but no one knew I was going to come to Celebration besides Kathleen Kennedy. And there were a very few couple of people. So I was so nervous. Oh my God, it was such a wonderful reception. I'm very excited. Here's the quote: "The story is really cool. I'm waiting to read a script because obviously I don't have any other updates. It's not what I expected, but I'm very excited." Then it goes on. She said, so he asked a follow-up question and she says, "I know the storyline for one film. That's not to say that's all it is, but that's what I was told about. And I imagine it will be the next film, I think. I mean, again, I don't know post strikes and everything, how quickly everything will start up again. But yes, so far, I know the story of one film and I think people will be very excited."
Mhm.
So this is kind of a big deal, kind of also not that much information as much as an actor who's very excited to come to a project that's going to make her a shit ton of money. But I think the important part for us to look at is that they clearly, she said one film, which makes me think
Mhm.
Dave's now in charge of things. I don't know. Are we actually possibly looking at a new trilogy?
And he likes to play with his Skywalker action figures.
Likes
So
to play with those
Yes.
action
now,
figures for
now that
sure.
she's officially a Skywalker,
Not
dude.
he's not playing with the Dexter Jetster action figure though, and I've been saying this.
So I think the fact that she said it wasn't what she expected, this is total just like
Here,
random speculation. I mean, there's nothing.
speculation.
Yeah, nothing. But the fact that she said that, I'm gonna let that back up my theory of how cool this script is gonna be because it's being written by Stephen Knight. I think she went in there and read it and was like, this, Peaky Blinders, Peaky Blinders. She was like, this is
She went and went, "Oi."
gnarly. This is gnarly. That's what I bet her reaction was. This is not what I was expecting because this is intense. This is like heavy, gnarly storytelling. Like that's, just so different from what we experienced in the sequels and the character she that was written for her in the sequels.
No,
I,
no.
I think there's going to be so many more layers of the onion that is her character peeled back.
Well, I think like, and let's also look at this from this introduction, right? We have, if you were impressionable enough, and trooping during the sequel trilogy was a lot of fun because the Halloween that follows in between when Star Wars movies are out is always amazing because like you can almost see where pop culture is currently being marketed. Like this year, tons of Marios, right? And then when a couple years ago, everyone was Black Panther. A couple years ago, before that, a ton of Rays, little kids dressed up as Ray, and I'm like, oh, absolutely. Here's even more candy. But when we would be trooping the movie theaters and stuff for the Rise of Skywalker, it was so cool to see how many sub 10-year-old, 12-year-old kids and girls specifically coming in and being like full scavenger Ray, like that was their Princess Leia. And when we think about that, Force Awakens comes out in 2015, right? And it is going to be, by the time that movie comes out, probably actually closer to 2025.
Mhm.
10 years later, if a kid was 12 when The Force Awakens came out, if a kid was 10 when The Force Awakens came out, they are a full-on college kid now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I think the capacity,
And they've been hitting the gym and they're ready to fight with sequel haters.
yeah, they have a double-sided, they're bringing the Swiftie culture with them. Like they're full in, man. Like,
dude, this is like if if my inclination on the kind of script and film that Stephen Knight would be attached to, it's like the opposite effect that the prequels had on our generation. It's you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we felt that the prequels, I think at that time we felt like, wait, this is this is for kids and we're adults. You're now gonna get kids who were kids going like, oh sweet, here's all the characters or the character that I know and love from my Star Wars as an adult, and I'm an adult, and this is an adult story. It's the total reverse of what we experienced, and I think that's so cool. And I'm pumped for all all the little kids that saw those movies that are going to be young adults seeing this film or films, and connecting on that level of having a more adult experience with this film. I think it's going to be amazing.
Well, either that or Stephen Knight's a huge fan of Gungans. One of the two. Go ahead.
Or he's ready to really put the Darth Jar Jar thing into practice.
Well, if you look at too, like when we look at the progression of these other, magnitudal amount of fandoms that we have out currently doing things. I mean, they're rebooting Harry Potter. We look at the difference.
Weird.
Of, like, it is weird, but you look at like Captain America, the First Avenger, all the way to when we get to Endgame, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is a huge amount of people that have grown up with Steve Rogers, Captain America, right? And like the corniness of Chris Evans in the First Avenger, Captain America, which is like the second movie after Iron Man, I think, all the way up till we got him in Endgame when he is worthy and holds Mjolnir and like all this stuff. Like, kids are going to be able to see that, see Rey with that same level of intensity, maturity, power in some ways. And I'm like so excited for that, to see that, because I think too, like they're capable of understanding that, that they can write her character like that, because that character per the timeline has gained that much more wisdom, has gained this idea. People are like forgetting that her and Luke had such a similar story of being able to adapt and understand the Force without training. Like, so we're cool with Luke doing it, but like if Daisy Ridley, if Rey figures out, right, like, oh, that's a big deal now. But the point though in this regard, I think that's important, is we have this opportunity with coinciding with Dave, with enough time that's passed between the sequel trilogy, that now Dave gets to bring all of these characters that we're super stoked on for the Mandoverse into figuring out where both of these future projects go. And we have talked, this is basically, this is an older Din Djarin if we want to. This is Ahsoka coming into play with Rey's movie if we want. All of these options are on the table, and we have someone who creatively is looking after this narrative that has the ability to be able to now kind of jump between studio projects, which is a huge deal. And that's where I think both these things are colliding. And so personally, I'm on board for all of this. I just need that Dexter Jetster Black series. I really do. I really need that going. So I'm excited for all of it. I think I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of stuff that's coming out over the next couple weeks now that the strike is over. I have a feeling we're going to get a lot of Star Wars news. I've also seen that some of the Celebration executives were over in Japan about a week ago, and they were scoping out and figuring out what they were going to do. So Star Wars Celebration in Japan in 2025 is happening. That would be a cool place for Moshe Eisley, just saying. I think this is awesome. I'm great. I am thankful for Star Wars and the news that we've just gotten. Even if it's been a couple morsels, I feel like we're eating pretty good.
100%. Thanks, B. Thanksgiving. Thanks for the giving, George and everyone. We want to talk about Moshe Eisley real quick, speaking of, and clarify some things. But first, I want to shout out a dude named Guy who works for Lucasfilm, actually, who is a fan of my band that I met in Australia.
Nice.
He's a compositor. He worked on Ahsoka, and he sent me something overseas via boat, I assume, maybe airplane, who knows. He sent me this nice little pin here. This you won't be able to see that because my autofocus is not on.
Sure.
Ahsoka Industrial Light and Magic VFX Crew 2023. Got some Pergil flying around the star map right there.
Sure.
Got this hoodie. Look at that. ILM VFX.
We will allow the non-Roosevelts today
Crew
because that
2023.
is amazing.
And then this.
Oh, on the back. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, show off. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, not jealous. I don't even care.
One of my favorite things. Oh, on the sleeve. Sleeve sick. Like the sleeve. Love the sleeve.
Dang it. Oh, my gosh.
Mike, you got that Roosevelt's on, though.
I do.
We got some Roosevelt's Christmas stuff coming. We're stoked about that. We're going to wear that in preparation for Santa's arrival. Ryan's got a full-on pajama set from Heroes and Villains or something. What's that from?
No, I think this is my wife got me this. I think it's from Target. But I did just post my really tying the room together, my Heroes and Villains throws, which the pod is I guess, starting to talk about working with Heroes and Villains on some more stuff as well. They just I hit them up and I was like, hey, I think you guys have these like blankets that I saw on the site, and they were like, we do. And then like 2 days later, all of them showed up. So
sick.
Stoked.
Well, I live much further north than you, and I'm pretty cold. So,
well,
we're talking to him.
We know a guy now.
We're gonna make the thing.
We know the guy behind the guy. The guy.
Right.
Doing it. All right, let's talk Mos Eisley, Orlando, really quickly. February 3rd at Sun on the Beach. It's gonna be
Is it called Old Town? Is that the neighborhood?
Something like that.
Is that what it's called? Right.
Yeah, February 3rd. Is that a Friday or Saturday?
What's it called? What's the venue?
Sun on the Beach.
Yeah. Either way, it's the weekend of MegaCon in Orlando. It's going to be
on Saturday, Adam.
Saturday, got it. It's going to be super fun.
Old Town.
Tickets are on sale. They are selling rapidly.
There's an amusement park called Old Town, which I guess is what this is all sort of centered around.
It's not at the
amusement
park.
It's between Celebration and Lake Buena Vista, so it's a little bit south of Disney World.
Not too far at all. So, like I said, tickets are on sale. They're selling quickly. There are 2 ticket tiers, but one is already dead. I'll describe it to you regardless. We got general admission tickets for $30. VIP tickets, those were $75 before they all went away. There's an exclusive VIP area and bar. So if you really want that, maybe somebody will be offloading tickets because they came down with bronchitis or something. But that also includes Cantina Hour access. The other way to get Cantina Hour access is to buy the merch bundle, which is sold separately from tickets. There's no ticket included in the merch bundle. That's straight through our Square site. That comes with Cantina Hour access, so you'll get in early. We'll be hanging. There'll be some photo op things and some non-emo, more Star Wars esque music. Actual like Cantina music. We'll just be chilling, hanging out. That also comes with an exclusive shirt, a poster, a tote bag, a patch, and a sticker. So it's a pretty damn good deal. So all in with the Cantina Hour and that merch, it's cheaper than if you bought those things individually for sure. And we'll get to hang. It's dope. So GA tickets, $30, and then the merch bundle. What do we settle on the merch bundle? It's $100? Yeah. With all those things in the Cantina Hour?
Yes, I think
it's on our Instagram. Check it out.
I don't know. I made the graphic. I don't remember.
Link in bio.
Yeah. And also we do, if you are a subscriber to either Princess and Scoundrel, Thank the Maker, the Dano channel, you've got access to that very, very, very limited edition subscriber-only version of the poster, which is very sick, and it's the Orlando Football Club colors. So we're making these perks happen, baby. And I think most excitingly for us is that we got a lot of friends coming to this one. Like this is gonna be real.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go.
You had a great time last time. The pictures were great.
I did.
It was a great time.
What
are you gonna wear? What are you gonna wear?
Can't wait to get my fit. I don't know. Just that's all I'm thinking about. What am I gonna wear?
I know.
Something dark, right?
I mean,
dark side of ass, dude. Maybe not. Maybe you're gonna be Ryan the White now that you've got a child.
There you go.
Turned over a whole new leaf.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yes.
More bags under his eyes, though. So we're super excited.
I'm going to be very sleepy by February.
Yeah, for sure. He's going to have to take a nap before. But no, we're grateful for everyone who's supported this project and what we've done. I mean, for us to be able to fly around the country and go to these conventions and team up with amazing companies like Roosevelt's is truly like one of the coolest things that I think about in the last since COVID of what we've done. And on Thanksgiving Eve, we're certainly thankful for everyone who has already purchased a ticket and showed enthusiasm for this, because it is going to be, I think this is actually the biggest, potentially with expansion, the biggest venue that we've ever done. And we're super excited we're developing our storyline right now, and it's going to be a production heavy story, I think, which is going to be really fun. So you will get your money's worth, and we get to party. Dude, we're going to party. It's so good to party, and I'm so tired already, but we're going to party.
It's going to be great. All right, again, February 3rd, Orlando, Sun on the Beach is the name of the venue. Link in bio. Anywhere there's a bio, that's where the link is. We're sharing it in all our stories and all our personal stuff as well. Patrons, thanks for being here. Thanks for your support. Everyone who's a new YouTube subscriber, thank you so much. We
1K, baby. 1K.
So super chats incoming.
Thank you, Ryan.
Shout out to Yellow Card and Yellow Card's fan base, whether or not you like Star Wars. Thanks for helping us cross the threshold.
That was awesome.
Dudes, I love you. Everybody, thanks for listening. And until next week, may the Force be with you.